Vanakkam. One of the main parts of burn management is the management of the wound. The dressings that we need to apply, the frequency with which we need to change the dressings, and the choice of dressings. There are so many materials available in the market today. What dressing should be applied and in which situation should we apply that dressing? All this discussed in this video. Different types of burns require different types of dressings. Even the same burn requires different types of dressings at different points of the wound healing. The overall aims of any burn wound dressing is to prevent infection, promote moist wound healing, prevent conversion to a deeper burn, reduce the pain to a certain extent, allow for movement and function, and at the same time assist in decreasing swelling. The first question is, what should we do when there is a burn blister? Should we de-roof the blister? And if so, why should we do it? The first reason is that the blister fluid in the blister is under high tension and may apply pressure on the underlying dermis. Not only that, the blister fluid contains thromboxane B2, which is a powerful vasoconstrictor and can reduce the blood supply to the burned dermis. And of course, the blister skin is dead skin. Primarily, the burn wound needs to be covered with antimicrobial agents to prevent infections from getting in. The commonest antimicrobial agents used are silver-containing dressings, mafenide cream, chlorhexidine. Silver-containing dressings slowly release ionic silver into the wound. This activated silver has broad spectrum antimicrobial activity and may also have an anti-inflammatory benefit. The commonest silver containing compounds that are used are silver sulfadiazine cream, 1%, is applied and covered with a fine mesh gauze. The advantages of using silver sulfadiazine are that it is widely available and relatively inexpensive. It has antimicrobial activity, which has been demonstrated by decreased colonization of burn wounds. But it does have some disadvantages too. It does not prevent gram-negative bacteria. It causes what is known as a pseudo-eschar formation. That is, the ointment, if not removed before applying the next coat of ointment, will form something like an eschar sitting over the burn wound, and it impedes reepithelialization. This specifically happens when the phase of reepithelialization begins. So it is better to stop the use of silver sulfadiazine by about 5 to 7 days. It is a thick white cream applied once or twice daily, but it should not be used during pregnancy, while breastfeeding, or in infants less than 2 months old, and also near the eyes. A modification of the silver dressing is the nanocrystalline silver, example Acticoat, which slowly release silver, which is toxic to microorganisms. The silver that is present in this dressing is activated by moistening it with sterile water, not saline, because the chloride ion could bind to the silver ion, reducing the amount of silver delivered to the wound. But this dressing will not stay on its own, so a secondary dressing needs to be applied over it. Moistening this outer dressing will allow the dressing to continue releasing silver ions for several days. Silver nitrate can also be used, but it causes staining of the skin, which is of course reversible. We know the importance of silver dressings, but when we compare silver versus non-silver antimicrobial agents, studies have shown that evidence is not sufficient to establish whether silver-containing agents or dressings promote wound healing or prevent wound infection. Actually, one of these reviews suggested that there may be a detrimental effect from some silver-containing dressings. In a meta-analysis of 5 clinical trials comparing nanocrystalline silver dressings with older silver formulation dressings like silver sulfadiazine, The nanocrystalline silver group had a significantly lower rate of infection, 9.5 versus 27.8%, decreased pain, no clear effect on hospital length of stay, and it involved a higher cost per patient. These silver dressings are ideal up to 48 hours. After 48 hours, it is better to change the dressing. There are different dressing materials available. We shall see them one by one. The first is hydrocolloids like duoderm. These are cross-linked adhesive dressings of gelatin, pectin and carboxymethylcellulose. These dressings are ideal for low to moderate exudating burn wounds. They are appropriate for all burn depths. In addition, these dressings are water repellent and conformable. These hydrocolloids have an outer film which is the waterproof barrier. They next have a foam layer to provide thermal and mechanical protection. The deepest layer is a honeycomb matrix of hydrocolloid particles that I have mentioned earlier to absorb, exudate and form a soft, moist gel. Since these dressings keep the nerve endings moist, there is some relief from discomfort and they can be worn continuously for up to 7 days unless it becomes uncomfortable or there is some leakage of the exudate or clinical signs of infection. The next group of dressings that can be used for burn wounds are foams, example Alovin. These are highly absorbent dressings which are suitable for highly exudating burns. We all know that they can also be used for highly exudating ulcers like the pressure sores. The advantage of using these foams is that there is less frequency of dressing changes as all the exudate is absorbed by the foam itself. The third type of dressings are the alginates, example Caltostat. These are highly absorbent biodegradable dressings derived from seaweed and contain calcium. They are ideally used on moist granulating tissue or on donor sites of skin grafts. They are also good for hemostasis if there is fragile or superficial bleeding. They are also good for moderately to highly exudative sloughy wounds. Hydrogels, example Intrasite, are hydrophilic dressings with very high water content and they are good for dry or sloughy burns. Due to the high water content, they are able to donate water to the burn wound and rehydrate dry eschar or necrotic slough and absorb exudate also. So they have adhesive properties, antimicrobial properties, hemostatic properties, they promote angiogenesis and antioxidant properties are also present. So far, we have seen materials that can be used to dress the burn wounds. Now we shall see some materials that can sort of replace the skin, even temporarily. The most important point to remember is that the best substitute for patient's skin is the patient's own skin. If the burn wound is superficial and the patient's own skin can regenerate, excellent. But if the patient's own skin is lost due to the depth of the burn, it must be replaced. But what if the patient's own skin is not available? For example, in a major burn, then we can use skin substitutes. There are three classes of skin substitutes. Class 1 refers to temporary impervious dressing materials. Class 2 refers to single layer durable skin substitutes. And Class 3 refers to composite skin substitutes. Class 1 skin substitutes, that is, temporary impervious dressing materials, consist of single layer materials, but they can be biologic or synthetic. An example of the biological dressing substitute is the amniotic membrane. An example of synthetic dressing substitute is polymer sheets like Tegaderm or Opsite. Class 1 skin substitutes could also be a bilayer tissue engineered materials like Transite. Class 2 skin substitutes, that is single layer durable skin substitutes, could be epidermal substitutes like cultured epithelial autograft otherwise known as CEA, or dermal substitutes, which could use bovine collagen sheet like collagen, bovine dermal matrix like matriderm, or human dermal matrix like alloderm. The cultured epithelial autograft or CEA was first reported for clinical use in 1981 in extensive full thickness burns. A large surface of keratinocytes is cultured and grown from a relatively small biopsy of healthy skin taken from the burn victim. From the biopsy, autologous keratinocytes are isolated, cultured, and expanded into sheets over periods of 3 to 5 weeks. A modification by the technique of suspension in fibrin glue has reduced the time for clinical use to 2 weeks. The cultured epithelial autograft has the advantages that it avoids the mesh aspect of split skin grafts and the discomfort of donor site after skin harvesting. But the biggest disadvantages are the fragility of this material and difficulty of handling, unpredictable take rate, and high cost. I have already mentioned the dermal substitutes like collagen, matriderm, and alloderm. Matriderm is a single layer porous acellular dermal matrix composed of bovine collagen types 1, 3, and 5 and elastin hydrolysate. It serves as a scaffold for tissue regeneration and also allows for immediate one-step split thickness skin grafting over it. Class 3 skin substitutes are composite skin substitutes, which could be either skin graft or tissue engineered skin. Skin grafts could be allografts or xenografts, and tissue engineered skin could be dermal regeneration template, example Integra, and BioBrain. Allografts offer a transient physiologic coverage. They are harvested from non-genetically identical donor from the same species and are sometimes known as homografts. They are cryopreserved with glycerol preservation after being harvested from cadavers. The application of allograft over superficial partial thickness wounds minimizes pain and facilitates re-epithelialization. Xenografts are skin harvested from an unrelated species, otherwise known as heterografts. They are used only as a temporary skin coverage. An example of xenograft is the tilapia skin from the fish known as tilapia. It has been used in Brazil for many years, primarily as a partial thickness burn wound dressing. Among the tissue engineered skin, the first example is Integra, which is the dermal regeneration template. It has a silicone layer and a collagen layer. The silicone layer protects the wounds, whereas the collagen and chondroitin 6 sulfate layer promotes dermal regeneration. So when it is applied, after 3 weeks, the silicone layer has to be removed and skin graft applied over the underlying dermis which has formed. The next example is BioBrain. This is a bilaminate membrane that contains a thin semi-permeable silicone membrane bonded to a layer of nylon fabric mesh and coated with a monomolecular layer of type 1 porcine collagen. This porcine collagen provides a hydrophilic coating for fibrin growth that promotes wound adherence. So BioBrain has no inherent antimicrobial activity, but the membrane is porous, allowing the absorption of topical antimicrobial agents, and these pores also allow drainage of exudate. BioBrain can be used to cover donor sites and aid in covering large surface area burns. They can be used on full thickness excisions as a temporary dressing to protect the excised wound site in a staged fashion prior to subsequent stage skin grafting. Polynovo or biodegradable temporizing matrix BTM is also another skin substitute that is available. It is a synthetic bilayer dermal template designed to facilitate skin regeneration in complex wounds. It is primarily composed of two main layers, a temporary sealing membrane and a bioabsorbable foam matrix joined by a bonding layer. Since there are so many different types of skin substitutes, let us try to summarize all that we have learned so far. Skin substitutes can be acellular skin substitutes, epidermal autologous substitutes, dermal autologous substitutes, dermal allogenic substitutes, dermal xenogenic substitutes, epidermal dermal, that is composite autologous substitutes, or epidermal dermal composite allografts. The first example of acellular skin substitute is alloderm, where the human acellular dermis is used, BioBrain, which has a silicone layer and a nylon mesh to provide for the dermis along with collagen. And the third type of acellular skin substitute is Integra, DRT, which has a silicone epidermis and a collagen sponge with chondroitin 6 sulfate and glycosaminoglycans to help in the formation of the dermis of the patient's own skin. When we consider the epidermal skin substitutes, the first is the cell spray, which consists of keratinocytes cell suspension. The epicell, which consists of cultured keratinocytes in sheets, which we have already seen as cultured epithelial autografts, and the product known as laser skin, which consists of cultured keratinocyte sheets applied over microperforated hyaluronic acid membranes. The examples of dermal autologous skin substitutes are Allograft 3D, where you have cultured fibroblasts in hyaluronic acid derived scaffold. After the dermal autologous skin substitute, we have the dermal allogenic skin substitute, the trans site, again which has a silicone film covering it and a nylon mesh containing cultured neonatal fibroblasts along with collagen, which are placed over the recipient skin, and the dermagraft, which consists of cultured neonatal fibroblasts placed in a polyglycolic acid scaffold. The example of the xenogenic dermal skin substitute Permacol consists of acellular cross-linked porcine dermis. An example of the epidermal dermal, that is composite skin substitutes, which is autologous, is the Tissue Tech autograft system, which has cultured keratinocyte sheet with microperforated hyaluronic acid membranes and a dermis consisting of cultured fibroblasts in a hyaluronic acid derived scaffold. Or it could be an epidermal dermal composite allograft, and the example is the Appligraph, which consists of cultured keratinocytes, and the dermis consists of fibroblasts and collagen. Though so many materials are available, the best replacement for burned skin is the patient's own skin, either by regeneration or by replacement.